that's that. Yes.
Aside from like Golden Girls, for example, do you guys like to put Easter eggs or little references to other horror stuff in your work, or does it all stand alone?
Yes, I do. I can start with this. I do a lot of that actually. I like to throw out references to things in Drawing Dead, for instance. Almost all of the minor characters in the book are named after some vampire novelist. So you can go through and kind of pick out like, oh wait a minute, that guy's last name is King. That there's somebody named Elrod. There's somebody and I just went for as many as I could. Also, just because with me, I'm kind of horrible at coming up with names. It takes me forever to like name a character and get like a new name. A character that I haven't had for dozens of years, so it's kind of a nice shortcut for me. I can have this list of, okay, here's all the names that I haven't used yet. Let me pick from one of them and put them in my story. But I like to do little Easter eggs and sort of shout outs and fan service things to people that I've read and that I like.
I referenced Stephen King, his novels and his characters, Edgar Allan Poe a couple of times, and because one of my great passions is very, very different from this, I've actually referenced Shakespeare a number of times, and it's more like the characters making fun of somebody because they read or liked Shakespeare. So I'm kind of poking at myself, but I have a unique publishing thing. I was mentioning this Perpetuals, which is part of the Ash Falls series. It's a very unique thing going on with this publishing company because it's not just my story. It's actually a shared storyverse between, right now we have 6 authors and we have 2 or 3 more that are going to be joining us. And I publish one of these episodes every 5 weeks. Well, so does somebody else. And so does somebody else. So every week somebody's story is coming out. They're a very new publishing company. Their reading app isn't even finished yet. It's filled with glitches. But I've been working on this for over a year now. And what ends up happening is that we're doing Easter eggs with each other's stories, sort of like the Marvel universe and all of the movies interact with each other. It's a tremendous amount of fun, both for us and for the few people who've been reading it up to this point. And I think the Easter egg concept is, I don't remember ever having seen it when I was a kid. I don't know whether I was too ignorant to even realize that it existed. I'm sure there were some out there, but it's like this thing.
Stephen King kind of did it. He would put little references to his other works, and you sort of got the idea that they were in a connected
universe.
But that was really the main guy that I know of doing it.
I think you're going to see more and more of it because readers love that. It's like you get to be the one. I recognize that. It's this bonus moment of joy in and amongst a well-written piece. So they're so cool. I love them.
In my third book, which got shopped around but never really went anywhere, there's reference to a band that is in my second book, Institutional Memory. And I think in Institutional Memory there's references to the characters in Forever Will You Suffer. Institutional Memory is the corporate fatigue syndrome. The name of the building is the Howard Phillips Building. So anybody who knows H.P. Lovecraft knows that that's where, and of course there's Lovecraftian things happening. How crazy is that? And possessions. I try to do that. It's fun. I have characters named after writer friends of mine. Not that I tell them, and not that they would know it. But it's kind of fun for me. Plus it saves on time when I think of character names.
Yeah. Definitely. In the paranormal young adult book that I'm shopping around, the owner of the bookstore relic store, his name is Mr. Bachman. Nod to Stephen King. It's fun. It does help, and sometimes it's more obvious. Like they go to E.A. Poe High School, so it's like, And sometimes you kind of slip things under the gun, or even from other things. You make a Hitchhiker's Guide reference. You kind of bring in other genres. or like I said, I read a lot of history, so you know, I make references to historical figures and play around with it sometimes, making it. Sometimes this is where my humor comes in, is making fun of something like that. You know, bringing in some kind of like funny reference to John Dee from the Elizabethan courts and stuff like that, and just kind of playing around with it. It's fun because you kind of see like, you know, if anybody gets it, if any, especially like if you're like, you know, your readers, your critique partners get it. It's kind of, it's interesting to see if they get it, because then you know you've done your job. That, you know, at least it's not just a private joke, because then it's not fun. It's just a private joke.
Yeah,
I've used the number 42 so many times in my story. Absolutely, you have to. You know, what's the price of that product? It's 42. That's way too. It's 42. It has to be.
Don't panic.
Yes.
Yeah.
Research do you get lost in research? Have you gotten into trouble in research or found anything interesting?
Good.
Yeah.
Good
Like
one.
I'll be
Start
happy
with
to.
Gary.
Okay.
There we go.
Volunteering first. That's very good improvement.
Yes.
The first two novels, not a lot of research. Kingdom of the Pearl Dawn, of course, set in China with the Chinese mythology. A lot of research. A lot. And they have a lot of history, a lot more history than this country has, like 3 times over. So I actually had to set the kingdom in a particular dynasty, because then I understood what was going on, because all the dynasties were doing something different. I have a History of China podcast, which goes back to the beginning and goes forward. And I've had to listen to some 3-4 times, because then they're like, you know, John invaded Bob's kingdom, but it's not John and Bob. It's when he was a civilian, he had this name. When he was an emperor, he had this name. When he died, he had that name. It was all one person and 3 different, and they're Chinese names, you know. So, so that was a lot of fun, but a lot of discovery of what different things went on in different kingdoms, different dynasties and such. 20 minutes. The thriller starts with a plane crash. So if you know, there's a lot of going on the NTSB website, and my wife is concerned, you know, you're going on, you know, watching shows like why planes crash and how to bring planes down, and, you know, maybe I should be careful what I'm doing. I actually braved it, which was really very silly. There's an 8-year-old boy that's found in a playground in the town I live in. So I went to the police station. Now this is great, right? I'm walking into the police station, sitting down with the police chief, and I'm like, so let's say there's this 8-year-old boy that's, and I'm like, my son is 8, of course, so this is really, I'm like, my wife is going, you really need to watch how you're doing this. I'm like, you know, yes, I'm a fiction writer. Let's get that straight away. And we had a very nice conversation. He explained what would happen, and there are certain circumstances that this boy doesn't remember who he is or where he's from. So we talked about the different things and related it to the plane crash, and that his office would contact Port Authority, and so it opened up a whole world of oh my God, there's so much I have to learn. Not to mention that just there is no such thing as a plane crash. Were the flaps up? Were the flaps down? At what angle of descent was it going? At what level did the black boxes stop working? Where was pilot error? Did that kick in? So there is just a tremendous amount of wealth to research. And I have a character who's an NTSB agent, and I'm saving her for last, because that's going to be the most work. All the other characters I can kind of get past without doing that much research. So, but I love it. It's very exciting to do. For institutional memory, I had to go on. I didn't have to. One of the women characters, whose nickname is Mousy Marcy, has to fire a gun. She has a gun because of trouble she had in her past. So I went on to like Field and Ammo's forum, and I said, I have this woman. I gave all the information. I said, what kind of gun would she use? And there was like all these people going, you care? These people are going, they don't know how many novels they read by authors that couldn't get a shotgun from a rifle straight because they did not do that. And I'm thinking it's such a simple thing to do. These guys are more than willing to talk. So the lesson learned is that if I need to do research on something, to do it. Ask the people I need to ask. And I'm going to reference this one guy one more time, because he is the epitome of audacity. When John Mayberry needed to know if the government was doing zombie war games, he did not hesitate to call the government to ask. He was concerned when they said, yes, we are. But he just he needed information, and he figured out how to get it, and he got it, and it made his stories richer for it, and that's kind of the point. That's, you know, if I'm going to write a story about something I don't know, by the end of the story, I better know it. Because I'm going to be sitting here, and people are going to go, you know, you gave Marcia this kind of gun. Do you really think that was her best choice? I'm like, well, the guys on Field and Ammo thought it was a great idea, so...
Yeah, I think if you're writing anything like that, people are only too happy to point out your mistakes. So you need to get things right. You know, sometimes you can fudge things, you know, but I think it would depend on how important it is to the story. I think the danger is you kind of get lost in the research sometimes, you know, and you don't want to write because like, well, this is so fascinating. So, but yeah, I mean, definitely have to research things. And that's why I like reading history, because, you know, reading about the Black Death, you know, actually inspired the cat story, you know, because at the time, you know, the cat and the curse and all that. And it starts off in medieval Italy during the time of the Black Death. So reading about the Black Death and all that, you know, is scary, but it brought so much more richness into the story because I was able to bring in a lot more realism and actually provided me with points that for the story that I wouldn't have had before. So it brings in like story elements that maybe you didn't think of. I don't know if you guys have found that. You know, the research will inform the story sometimes.
Oh yeah,
you know?
Absolutely.
So.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I do. I do a lot of research. I do it before I start writing, you know, to give me ideas. I'll continue doing it even as I write, as I come to things in a chapter, and I realize I'm going to talk about, you know, I'm going to talk about the 1939 World Series. Okay, I need to know about the 1939 World Series. My character's a baseball fan. I'm not particularly a baseball fan, but so I need to know all about, you know, that team in that year. And I am one of those people, I can get lost in the research, and I use it. It's a great procrastination tool to avoid actually writing, but still feel like you're doing work on your book.
It's research.
Yeah, it's research. It's totally legit. So.